Hello there, this is Big Benedict. We're playing Devil May Cry 4 on Legendary Dark Night Mode, and this is Mission 3. It is entitled The White Wing. So, I don't have enough characters to fit all the title into the video, so what I've done is I'm just going to put mission, for instance on this one, this is Mission 3. So, after I rendered the previous video, it was 3 point something gigabytes, which immediately tells me that even though I'm rendering these at 720p, and that fight actually is the same, so no change to that fight here, but you'll shortly see a difference coming up with these Mephistos. What was I saying? With 30 frames a second, 720p, I'm still getting a 3 gigabyte file, a 3 gigabyte plus file. So that tells me something that I forgot, namely that I'm going to have to go into the visual settings and put some of these settings from super high to high, and some of the ones from high to low, and that's what I did the last time to get some manageable files. I'm just talking about files that I can end up rendering that are actually manageable and that don't take 15 plus hours to upload. So ideally, like, I shoot for a gigabyte for a file. That's about, like 3 hours for an upload time, which is pretty good. So I'm gonna have to change the settings around. It won't really have an effect on you, the viewer, too much, because the changes are pretty minute on your end, but my experience will suffer slightly. Now these guys, the best way to deal with them, like the best strategy I can tell you, is to do the snatch, not the buster, because the buster is too slow, but you just want to continually use the snatch to divest them of their cloak, and then go to town with charge shot level 3s and grabs as you see fit. That fight is actually pretty small compared to the one that's coming up in a couple chapters from now. So I will be going over those guys again, and I suspect that these chapters are going to be pretty flexible with Nero, but the ones with Dante are going to be living nightmares, all of them probably. So we'll have to see what comes of that. That is a skippable fight, though, if you didn't know. This one coming up is not. So if you die in the next fight, they will throw you back at the very beginning of the stage. Now, with the Exceed going up to level 3, you can strike, with the level 3 Exceed, like it is right now. You can strike and then do the Exceed again, but you're risking failing that. So it's just one option if you might want to consider that. So with these guys, have we fought Frost? I don't think we fought the Frost before. This is our first introduction to them. So these guys are pretty manageable if you keep them off the screen, but you have full camera control here. So basically my strategy here is to continually do the level 3 shot and get my level 3 exceeds going, and I like to do the high roller attack, which is the launch attack on these guys, and also the X streak, which incorporates the exceed into the streak. And there's just a lot of these guys. I mean, I imagine we'll be seeing a lot more of them. This is probably going to be a small fight in comparison to some of the big ones that are coming up. So just keep the camera off them as much as possible. Can throw and then double trigger cancel to get out of status effects like getting frozen right there. And a lot of these fights, they're going to be pretty systematic. Like I'll be telling you the basic strategies that I use on these. Like the main attack is the throw. The main attack's the throw. Secondary is the charge shot. It's not in any particular order, but just know that I'm always trying to do the exceed at level 3. Obviously the charge shot level 3, and then throws, and then crowd control with his streak attack. So this turned out to be a fairly simple. I wouldn't go so far as to say simple, but gave me a run for my money on certain areas. I did die one time. There's a couple of optional fights too, and I'll be telling you guys where the checkpoints are. It's very easy to lose your charge shot level 3 too if you're holding the trigger and you have it ready to release, and then you do a streak and then you let go of the shot. It just cancels it out, so beware of that. It takes a long time to build up the charge shot level 3, but it's a great move. It stuns enemies and then launches enemies. So a couple of these guys left, so the main thing I can tell you right there is keep the camera off them. And personally, I can do the max act a lot better in the air, but it's riskier. Some would say it's not though, because you're vulnerable in the air just as much as you are on the ground, so it's basically up to you. And then there are a couple of red orb caches over here, some green orbs in here. And when I was doing extreme editing in the previous DMC4 guide, I was getting to a particular area, especially if it was checkpointed, and then destroying all the destructible objects, and then starting to record the guide. But breaking stuff is pretty fun, and if I break stuff, then you guys might not know where the stuff you need to break is, so I'm going to be keeping it in. So we'll come over here. I've skipped the cutscene, obviously. And then we'll be going in here, and there is a store over here should you need to purchase things. So I'm really looking forward to this, and hopefully it will give me the challenge that I suspect it will. I'm pretty sure it will. I just have no experience with this difficulty mode, and I'm looking forward to it. So those are all the chairs there. The railing doesn't give you any red orbs. We'll have some dogs in here, so you'll hear them right away. And I like to do aerial throws, but they shoot fire. You saw their fire attack that knocks you right out of the air. So this game is largely about timing, moving out of the way appropriately, using the buster. You can use the buster on so many things. You know, if an attack is vexing you and you can't figure out, you know, what's the best thing to do about it, try bustering it. There's a good chance that you can actually buster it. I didn't know you could buster the final boss. It would have made my life a little easier when I was playing DMD mode. I mean, when he's charging across the screen with the sword, I didn't know you can buster that. I thought you can buster these here, but it doesn't look like they will be able to be sent back because they're an elemental attack. Like physical attacks, like the high voltage ball that the Angelos shoot at you, that can be sent back. With Dante it's harder, so I would recommend using the prop shredder on that. A lot easier. Now going into the right will give you a room with a lot of smashable objects and no enemies yet. In the next stage there will be enemies there. However, if you come back out, then you'll have to face more dogs, which you can just ignore if you want to, but it would have just eaten up too much time for the guide. So I'm just going to dispatch this last one, get the health. I have the get more orbs ability, which is a really good one, to draw more orbs to you without having to go to the orbs. It's really nice. And I have a dead zone in my controller according to this game. However, it's only for this game. Like a lot of the times you'll be seeing it's any straight line. It's not any particular direction. Anytime I'm going up, down, left or right, or even at a diagonal, you will see me stop in my tracks and start walking. And the reason for that is because this game has a problem with being able to sustain a sprint. He has no stamina. Well, I guess he does have a stamina at the end of his sprint, but you have to have the additional speed ability. Now, this room we have all the swords and all the scarecrows on the ground. And it keeps its frame rate. It maintains its frame rate here, and it's just incredible. This game is to call this game fantastic would be to insult it, because it's far more than fantastic. It's like a marvel of programming. But as you can see here, do you need the lock-on to work here? Yeah, you need it to work, but you don't need it to work spot on, because there's so many enemies here, you're likely to grab somebody. And what I also do is do the double trigger transformation in the air to kill enemies. It's an offensive attack, and it's also an immunity time for you to use it if you want to use it as that. It's a very, very good save ability. That is, it will save you from getting damaged, and you'll get iframes. When you jump, you get iframes as well. From the time you leave the floor until the time you start descending from the jump, that is all having iframes. So, I actually like fights like this. They're pretty enjoyable. Now, obviously, if you were trying to do a no damage run of this game versus Dante Must Die difficulty, this mode would be giving you the most challenge and frustration too, I imagine. So what do you do in a room like this? Like I said, you want to use the Devil Trigger transformation to take advantage of the small amount of HP that the swords have, and level 3 charge shots aimed at the swords will take out clusters of swords if they're nearby each other. And it's just a fun fight. It's a very enjoyable fight. So next we'll be moving up here, and I am happy to report that I didn't fall over here. However, I got extremely lucky on the last set of pegs, and I'm going to have to rewatch what I did over here because I have no idea what happened at the time. I was just glad that I didn't fall. So I actually can't report on what happens if you fall. I imagine it's just more puppets, not swords. Wow. That was the luckiest thing I've ever fucking seen. And then here, latch on to the next one. Don't do the streak there because it'll lock on to the Grim Grip point over there. And then to get this cache of orbs over here, you need the Exceed 3 to do the X high roller and get up there that way. And then we'll be going over here. And that other room that we just left, that is the checkpoint area. So if you die on this fight or on the next fight, you will be sent back there. So just going to have to gauge how it is, and I'm curious to know if there is an achievement for this. I'm going to have to look on the in the journal, in the game journal, to see what they're giving out. I imagine you do get one, so there is an incentive for that too. This is a really difficult fight because there's no camera control. You can, run to the top of the screen, run to the bottom of the screen, depending on where enemies are. But it's basically a big grab fest. Grab enemies in the air. If you see projectiles being flung at you, cancel out of it by pressing the Devil Trigger. And also, if you see other enemies rushing towards you, whenever they go into their ice shelter, that means they're regenning health, so you need to get them out as quickly as possible. So if you cancel that out, they will not get more life. So Yeah, difficult fight. I imagine the Frost are going to give me a run for my money with Dante. But that's what I wanted. I wanted a challenge. And this looks like it. Possibly could be harder than Dante Must Die difficulty from the perspective of somebody who's not very good at the bosses and who prefers battles over bosses, even though a battle can be a boss battle. So you're gonna have to give me a few chapters just to get into the groove of this. I did have to re-defeat Devil Hunter difficulty because I had accidentally deleted my save file on my PC. So I would highly recommend you get this version of the game. It's the definitive version of the game. It's got 0 issues, and it's just it's so inexpensive too for such a high quality game. So now we'll run down here, approach this next item over here, and I believe in the last chapter I was referencing how many items I have. I'm just showing you how many I have. So you see, it's not as though I have maxed out items. I actually prefer it that way so that I'm not tempted to use items that I don't even have. So at this point, I'm stating that I'm not using items. It is subject to change, but I'm not one of those people that just does it just because there's one hard fight. You know, it's got to really wear on me before I do that. But this fight here, what do we have? We have dogs and the Frosts. So you can completely skip these guys if you want to and proceed to the next fight. In fact, there's no checkpoint until you get to the final section with the Angelos. So what we're looking at here is 2 optional fights and then 1 mandatory fight, and then a checkpoint right before the Nilo Angelos, or the Bianco Angelos. They're not called that. So you can use the dogs as weaponry against the Frosts. So you can throw the dogs into the Frosts, and vice versa. If you're swinging a Frost around, it's friendly fire, so to speak, with the casualties. So that can also work into your favor. I just find safety in the air, you know, a little bit more than I do so on the ground, but you're not safe in the air. If you think you're safe, you'll quickly be disillusioned. Okay, so he's getting thrown. We're looking at these other guys to see what they're doing. Is the end of the fight. Okay, so with that closure for that fight, we're going to be moving forward now. We'll be getting a holy water. Okay. So we got our max sack right there. And the whole thing about not using the rev of the sword, it was just one of those kind of odd things that I decided on the spur of the moment, because it does eat up time and it looks kind of unprofessional. But anyway, this fight here, we've got some Frost and the swords. So I really like the lighting in these types of rooms here. They're just utterly gorgeous, and you've got all these enemies swimming above you in this sea of swords here. So we cannot use the gyro blade until we come back to this room. So I would recommend just throwing swords into one another. They seem to die in pretty big packs of collision, is metal on metal. And there's so many swords here that it's kind of hard to say, now I need a double trigger cancel, you know? It's all going on instinct, and, you know, yeah, I'm getting damaged, and the damage here that you receive is on Son of Sparta, I figured out. So Son of Sparta equates to hard. The highest difficulty by default you can play on this is Devil Hunter. I don't know what. I think human is easy. Devil Hunter is normal, and then once you clear either of those difficulties, you unlock Son of Sparta, which is hard, and then after that you unlock Dante Must Die, which is very hard. But you only have to clear the game once on either of the two default difficulties to start playing this difficulty mode. And I love how everything stacks in this game. I love how you can at any given time just save your progress. You know, anytime you get something you want, like a blue orb, you know, a blue fragment of an orb, anytime. You know, it doesn't save the fact that you defeated a level, mid-level, but it saves all your progress, and I just like it. Even if you quit or retry a stage, they always give you everything you're owed before you leave that stage. Like, even if you play the level for 5 minutes and you want to quit, whatever you've earned up to that point, as far as Proud Souls, they'll give them to you, even if it's only like 200. So this is easily my favorite Devil May Cry game. I really did like 1, but it just didn't feel modern enough for me. Although it's definitely a modern game. And then number 3, I thought it was just too hard for the sake of being hard, and I honestly didn't like the level design in the tower level. I mean, this game feels like number 1 a little bit more so, like the true kind of game. But I honestly don't like playing with Dante. Maybe I'll learn to like him a little bit. But here we have a bunch of the Bianco Angelos. Whenever you see the white guys, that means they're the Bianco Angelos. These guys also have a kamikaze attack that I didn't know what it was when I was playing in my first campaign, because I thought they were flying into laser beams. I was on one of the later chapters. But whenever they have like this yellowish orange glow on their wings and they fly at you, they're doing a kamikaze attack and they will die. So it's convenient, but you don't get the Proud Souls, I don't believe. And the attack where they summon the projectile and you can fling it back at them, I was waiting for them to do it quite a long time over here. But I think the problem here is that there's just too many of them to make it happen. But they usually always do it eventually, even if you have to wait like 5 minutes. But I was just waiting too long. And this kind of stuff, I just love it. Flying off enemies. This game is, the attention to detail is just exquisite.